You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, if you're enjoying our content, if you're finding value in it, please comment anywhere you're listening. Please share. Give us some 5-star ratings out there. If you're on our YouTube channel, subscribe. If you're on iTunes, subscribe. In all these places, it really helps us get content out to more people. It helps the algorithm tell more people about us and put us in front of more people. So please do that for us. Today we have a great family roofing business owner, Adam Fedale of Fedale Roofing. Adam, appreciate your time and coming on with us today. Tell us a little bit about Fedale and how you came into the roofing business.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be asked to speak on a show like this, and pretty humbling too, because to be honest with you, we don't feel like what we do is rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. So thank you. Thank you for having us. We feel like we're just some pretty simple guys and doing our best. But to answer your question, how I got into the roofing business was, wow, I guess it really goes back. So growing up, my uncle owned a company, and I worked with him in the summertime and over winter breaks all the way up through high school. So that was kind of the start of the trade. I guess if I went back even a little further, my grandfather did roofing and driveway paving, back well before my time. And I think some of that blue collar mindset probably got passed down through my mom. But where it really came to fruition was while I was in college, I was working for a roofer that I attended church with, and just, helping out over the summer and over winter breaks. And my brother ended up working with us too. Another one of my brothers ended up working with us too. I come from a big family. And while I went back to school, and my younger brother went back to school, my older brother engaged the roofing industry as his full-time, job and passion, and really fell in love with the business. And he rose in the ranks fairly quickly and became a chief project manager for that commercial roofing company that we were working for. Owner of the company is just an awesome guy. And anyway, so he very quickly, learned the craft, and also having some of the background that I do with my uncle. Well, he's probably one of the most charismatic people I know. My older brother, Glenn, which is where the G comes from in Fedale. And as such, whether it was friends or family members or somebody that knew the family through, a sport or a church or whatever, reaching out and say, hey, could you come out on the weekend and do my roof for me, or check out this leak, or whatever it was. He just became so busy with that he couldn't spend time and focus on what he was doing at work. So anyway, he made the decision to jump into the sole proprietor, going off on his own. And I still remember the risk that he took. He had a new baby and just bought a house, and was getting married, and I, he told me he was making the jump, and I told him he was crazy. But it was, I think, if you would ask him, probably one of the best decisions that he ever made. And while I was out of school by that point, working for a larger company, but in a sales role, unrelated to construction, a year, 2 years went by. I think it was about 2 years, and him and I were out for lunch one day, and he just said, "Man, it is so busy. I can't even keep up with it." And I said, "Well, I'd be happy to help you out. I'm happy where I'm working, but if I can lend a hand, let me know." And that turned into, taking sales appointments and working on their process and helping out in any way I could. And before long, it was full time as the first estimator for Fedale Roofing and Siding, and the rest is history. That was, man, 14 years ago. Company started back in 2003, and I came on board right around 2006, 2007 timeframe.
And where are you guys at with how many people do you employ now? That type of thing, locations and revenue, if you want to share it or not.
Sure. Yeah, so we have about 80 employees. We have 4 locations throughout the tri-state regions. That's Delaware, PA, New Jersey, a little bit of work in Maryland. And we do right around 25 million a year. And our business is primarily exterior refacement, right? So roofing, siding, windows, doors. But in terms of industry, I'd say we're right around 15% commercial, and the remainder is residential.
Yep. So, what would you say? I mean, being in the residential market in that tri-state area, who's your ideal customer? Who's your target market up there?
That's a good question. I think we're naturally drawn to customers that have an eye for detail. So we get a lot of engineers, doctors, attorneys. Some of those higher end projects, we get attracted to those. We have some real craftsmen that work at the company, and we've gone to great lengths to get the certifications and the training that's needed to be able to work on those projects too. So we're big on that. I don't know, this may be more than what you asked for, but our last name we've kind of used as an acronym for our core values at the company. And the F in Fedale is for family oriented. So we want to be the type of company that can go out and sell the same roof to our aunt or our cousin that we'd be able to sell to a customer that just doesn't know us from Adam. The E, or first E, I should say, is for excellence. So we want to strive for excellence on every project. I can't tell you how many construction jobs I've been out to, and the customer says, "Yeah, we got this work done by so-and-so," and they just kind of left it like this. And, we didn't really know what to do, so we're calling you.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's unfortunately become commonplace with contractors, and maybe that has to do with sometimes a lack of trust that you see in our industry. But we really strive for excellence on every project, and we're upfront with our customers. We know we're not going to be perfect, but a big thing for us in our culture is manning up. So it's not about not making mistakes. The mistakes are going to happen, but it's how you recover from the mistake. And we have the best people. We've customers that there may be a leak that comes in, and one of my guys, without even having us need to push him, he'll say, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that. How can I how can I help you out and try to brighten your day? Would a gift card to a restaurant down the street or something like that be a help? So that's big. And anyway, just goes to show like the dedication that we have to our customer base. And every job that we do, we offer a warranty on, and that's big for us. I know this industry is again one that doesn't always have people, come back, excuse me, to honor the work, and that's really important for us. Our customer base feeling like we're here to stay, and not just coming back, because that could be done begrudgingly, but coming back with a positive attitude and, hey, how can we help you out, and taking ownership of the mistake. And we want to do this from a leadership standpoint first. We don't want to ask our people to do something that we ourselves wouldn't be willing to do. And that's always been something that we've looked for, even in new hires. Like when someone's coming in, how comfortable are they rolling up their sleeves and getting their hands dirty? And that's a big thing for us. And the last thing, like bringing it around full circle, I guess, to your question of who's our ideal client, is the experience. So we've been really fortunate to obtain a certification through GAF, who's the largest asphalt shingle manufacturer in the world. We also have a certification through James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding, one of the largest siding companies in the world. And even when it comes down to the windows, right, the Velux skylight or the Pella window, we've been able to obtain certifications so that when a customer reaches out and is considering a project like that, they can rest assured that we've gone through the training, obtained the certifications, been able to maintain those certifications, and now we can stand behind their product for install. And it just makes a difference, right? Like, again, going back to some of those buyer beware things within the construction industry, that does make a difference. So anyway, we have customers of all shapes and sizes, from all different types of demographics, and probably take on too many different types of projects, to be honest. So whether it's the asphalt roof or the cedar roof or the custom designed window, or the mahogany door, we take on quite a bit, and we're happy we're able to do that.
That's awesome. And that kind of, one of my next questions was what your unique selling position is and how you position your company. But that's a lot, you kind of went through that, and through that acronym and through your certifications. It sounds like that's what you're doing in the eye, positioning yourself in the eyes of in the homeowner's eyes, right? As the company that will do things correctly. As the company that will stand behind their work, as the company. So that's awesome, man. That's what it takes, right? Those are the things. Why isn't that just a common thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
That seems like it should just be this is what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to stand behind our work. We're supposed to do the best job possible.
Well, I would say, to expand on it, to your question that you just asked, and this is why I love what you're doing, because you're giving education to guys that I was in their shoes.
Yeah.
10 years ago or 15 years ago. My brother was in their shoes 17, 18 years ago, before he even incorporated. Like, what do we do? And I'll tell you what, the stripes that you earn and the scars and the pain, and it all can be a lesson, and it all can direct you. And anyway, I love what you're doing, because you're saving some people the scars and having to learn those lessons in the school of the hard knocks. And anyway, not to say like we've arrived at some place that's that's like the promised land, but I do feel like we are further along, and we have less of those painful situations to work through because we've been there, and we've kind of looked for the lesson in it. But anyway, so in response to your question, I think what sets us aside in our sales presentation is professional detail. And those two words can be built out quite a bit. For some of you listeners, that's like, man, that's a really simple answer. But on the professional side, those of you out there that are taking the time to put the like nice finishing, almost like artistic touches to your proposals, it's time well spent. And to those of you that are taking the time to put detail into, your layout and your explanation of what the customer should expect, not only are you saving yourself some pain when it comes to installing your project, but you're also showing the customer a detailed approach that may distinguish you from the competition.
So do you have like a kind of a cohesive process through the sales presentation and how that's built out into the production side? I kind of heard something there that it leads to one, they intertwine somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably an area where we could improve that cohesion from start to finish, right? So your marketing and how you advertise, how you get your name out there, to your sale, how you present yourself in front of the customer, to your back office preparation for production, to your production, to your closeout, to your billing. Like, you want all this. And then you're back to your marketing again, right? It's full circle. Yep. You don't want these customers to just use you once and then move on to somebody else. You hope they're a customer for life. So yeah, I think that's an area where we could have improvement, but we do recognize that cohesion is very valuable, and we do have a process in place. It's just one that's being developed and tweaked.
They're always being developed and tweaked, aren't they?
Oh man, never there.
I'm a big fan of a show. Tom Bilyeu, he was the founder of Quest Nutrition, and some other things, but he has a show. It's on YouTube and probably on podcast networks. It's called Impact Theory, and it's all about human potential. And I was listening to an episode not long ago, and he said that failure is the greatest data feed. Right? Like, yeah. So like what you've been saying along the way here is, the lessons that get learned along the way, right? And every time that something goes wrong, there's a lesson in there to correct it. So let's talk about some of those lessons and start with the marketing side. So, what have you found that has worked best for you on the marketing side, and what are some lessons that you've learned along the way?
Oh, wow. I would say this: there's no bad ideas. So, I mean, there are bad ideas, but like it so much of it comes down to your own creativity as a business owner or a marketer, whatever your position is at the company. So, for instance, there was a company that I was talking to down in Virginia, and he was telling some manufacturer's rep that I was talking to that he doesn't pay any money for advertising. And I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. Like, how's that even possible?
Yeah.
And anyway, I talked to him, and he said, I have this anniversary roof program. So what he does is, within 1 year of the person signing on for the roof, he's following up with that customer in a creative way. And I won't give it away because I want Jim over here to be getting some marketing business from all you guys out there. And let me be very transparent. We have a healthy marketing budget, so this is not something that we've adopted, but it's a creative idea, and we build a process to try to adopt it in a way that fit our company. And it's been very successful for us. And it's really the idea, the process, and then the people, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can have a process built, but if the idea is maybe not a fit for your area or region, or maybe not the best for our industry, like, taking something that may work for Amazon into Joe's Roofing down in Florida, that may not convert. But anyway, the process has obviously also got to work. So you can't have an idea and then just not have a plan for execution. But then the people, the idea can be good, and the process can be like sharp as a tack. But if the people are not there to execute it well, that's really that final piece. And anyway, so marketing for us is really, it's a varied approach, but we try to stay really creative and kind of like on our toes, and I think that's helped us maintain a good reputation, and also reach new clients. And yeah, that seems to be the name of the game. And then obviously through your work, being able to retain those new clients, that's really a part of branding that not everyone, I don't think, thinks about. How you perform out there doing the work. If you're spending $300,000 on marketing, but your work is not going well and you're getting complaints 5 out of 10 of your projects, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
And getting that production side to match the quality of what you're talking about on your sales side, and what you're kind of broadcasting on the marketing side, that's also money well spent. So it's interesting, like that marketing brand category. Oh man, it's really broad and touches a lot of things, because your face is on everything that you do.
Everything. And what I hear you talking about a little bit in the Roof Anniversary program and some of these other things that you'd mentioned is you're thinking about the long-term value of that customer. You're not just thinking about get the job done, collect the check, and move on to the next job. And that is something that gets you to 25 million. Because if you don't do a good job for that customer, you don't get a referral. They don't tell their neighbor. They don't tell their friend at church. They don't tell their family members. When roofing or windows or siding of the services that you get provided, when those come up in a conversation, you want your name mentioned by the person that you've done that great job for. So do you guys focus more in that, let's just say like that Roof Anniversary program, is that a multiple touch point sequence with maybe some direct mail, some phone calls, emails? What kind of is it a multiple touch thing, or is it just like, hey, we send a postcard once a year and we're good to go?
Yeah, so it's really text and email.
Text and email. Yeah,
Yep.
Text is big these days, man. Text. If people aren't doing text messaging, look into that right now. If there's 100% open rate on your text messages.
Wow.
Right. Every single text message you receive, think about it yourself. Every single text message you receive, you open.
Yeah.
You look at it. It's right there. It's a very standard form of communication these days. I think you guys are really doing a great job having that implemented into your systems for sure.
Well, I think there's probably some people that would shrink back from the idea, and for you listeners out there, keep this in mind. you're going to hear some bad news bears. There's going to be some people that are like, I remember you guys from last year, and I forgot to say something, but my shutter is hanging off. And you're
That's
like,
right.
oh boy, here we go. And you got to do it right.
You got to.
Or maybe it's that shy person that just was too shy to say they got a nail stuck in their tire. And it comes up in the conversation, and now you have a decision to make as a business owner. What are you going to do? So it's just a matter of, like you were saying, Jim, like, how do you see those opportunities? Is that an opportunity to lose $300 over a tire? Or is that an opportunity for that person to go out to dinner in a post-COVID world and be talking to a friend and say, a year later, Fedale Roofing and Siding was out and they replaced my tire and I love them. And I'm going to plaster them all over my social media.
Yep.
So, and you never know how it's going to shake out. You just gotta believe that whoever built all this around us has good faith resulting in good things and good faith in business. My brother's always done such a good job of that. I mean, I remember countless times of him going the extra mile, or if there was the black and the white and then the gray in between, he would err toward the side of the customer is always right. And you have to obviously do that with discretion, but oh man. And it goes such a far way.
Do you guys do more on the digital side, more on the offline side?
Yeah, our budget for marketing is primarily split between personnel. So we have a marketing manager. We have canvassers that go out and we'll hit the area around us. And then in terms of the advertising side, we do some on the branding side, like some radio. And then, maybe a billboard here or there. But when it comes to advertising, the bulk of it is spent on direct mail, some publications. If you have something around you that's like a Consumer Reports publication, I would strongly recommend that. And then the social media and Google side is just, that's the juggernaut. So that's a big part for us.
You mentioned that you guys have you have a healthy marketing budget, right? So what would and I think about it like a lot of times when you get, into the higher volume, into a higher volume business, into that 10, 15, 20, 25, a lot of times it's not the same percentage of gross revenue that you would spend on a marketing budget when you were like a $3 million or $5 million company. What would you speak to that? Did you guys how was your spend varied through the as you've grown?
Oh man, that's a great question. Right now we're at about 4% of revenue.
Okay.
So we spend just under $1 million, and then how that's grown over time. I think we probably floated between 2 to 3%. And just over the past 3 years, we experienced about 43% growth over the past 3.5 years. And I think part of that is a result of some strategic marketing, but also increasing investment in marketing. And then of course, just blessing, like doors were opened and customers called and some of those things too. But that's I think been a progression for us over the years.
Yeah. And that's something that it's hard when you're a smaller company sometimes to think about that and think about that investment, but that's what it leads to. And, we always encourage our clients and anyone when I'm doing speaking events or whatever, it's you want to spend what you have to make your marketing budget based off of your goal, not based off of last year's revenue. Also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to step it up and grow, there's a path to it, and it's not going to be doing the same things that you did in the past, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys do? You had talked about the sales process and the precision in that. What else do you guys do in that sales process that you feel sets you apart from the other companies in your area?
I would say showing up, right? We talk about how it's not brain surgery. You can do that in a number of different ways, but I would just encourage you guys to do the simple things well.
Yeah.
So when you get an appointment, make sure it's in your schedule. I had this professor that would say, the dullest pencil is better than the sharpest mind. Like, write stuff down, put it somewhere. Another way you can show up is tell them when you're going to get their proposal and get it to them then. And if you don't, that's okay. Just tell them, hey, yes, I meant to get this to you by Friday. It's actually going to need to be Monday. I'm waiting on pricing on XYZ. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you gotta show up in that way. And I would say there's other ways that you can show up too. Like, when they call you, call them back. When they text you, text them back, and do it as quickly as you can. And anyway, so there's just a bunch of small ways that I feel like you can show up for people. But one of the last ways I'll bring up as a tip is just if it's a roof quote, get on the roof. If it's a window quote, look at every window. If it's a siding quote, make sure you're checking out all the siding area. Like, I really don't mean to oversimplify it, because I know for you guys out there that are crushing it and hitting 2, 3, 4 million in sales a year, you guys understand the craft and how much of how delicate and fragile that craft is. And I get it. I appreciate it, because I was in sales, and I was right there with you. But yeah, if I could encourage maybe some of those guys that are like wanting to make sure they're keeping their game tight, or even some of the newer guys that are maybe intimidated and thinking, oh man, I'm at like 750K for the year. How can I get up to that next level? Yeah, those are some of the ways.
It's the simple things, right? Like, and those simple things are where you lose trust. This is what I think. It's people buy from who they know, like, and trust, right? That old saying, when you say you're going to get an estimate to them on Thursday and they don't hear from you until Monday, your trust goes down, right? Your opportunity, your closing rate goes down in relation to that, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's a big thing. Like, it's simple things. And what you said is, and you said it earlier, that you guys, there's going to be things that come up. This isn't a smooth process by any means. This is construction, right? We're building stuff, right? There's going to be problems along the way.
Sure.
But in that is taking responsibility for it and explaining that, right? Like, there's, hey, I'm waiting for pricing on this. Hey, I apologize that that I thought I'd have it to you on Thursday. I'll definitely have that to you on Monday, right? That communication, that small little bit of communication keeps that trust factor in line, right? They keep you spent a lot of money on marketing to get that person in the door, to get them to call you. You spent a lot of time and effort into that. And now don't waste that opportunity by not texting them back, right? It's a big thing. So now what do you guys, is there anything that you do on production day to, kind of create those raving fans, to create that long-term value in those clients?
Hmm. Yeah, again, for the simplicity side of things, I would say it's a big thing just showing up. So keeping the customer posted. We like a lot of you guys out there have dealt with the staffing challenges that come with the territory. We've dealt with the subcontractor challenges. We've dealt with the delays. I think we had 1 month this year where it was like 19 days of rain, and working through that with your customer base and keeping them posted and all that comes with that. So that's big. Be there when you say you're going to be there. I'll give a little plug to, I think it's called Roof Mastery, and I forget her name, but
Becca Switzer.
Rebecca Switzer. There you go. She's really sharp, and she has I think it's called an expectations page that she recommends to be added to people's contracts, and that's something that we did. And essentially, what you're doing is you're taking really every complaint that the customer's given you over the years, and you're adding them to the expectations page, right? So for you guys out there and girls that are like, oh man, I keep having people pissed off at me because I'm showing up at 7 a.m. Or maybe it's the other side. Maybe you're more of a night owl and you like to show up closer to 9 a.m. and the customer's upset because they think you should start at 7. I don't know what you're running into, but put on that expectations page, we will show up between 6:30 and 10:30, and you would be shocked not only how much happy your customer is, but how they'll appreciate the communication. And anyway, there's little things like that I think help. But back to the show up, I think the final inspection was something key that we implemented, and that's helped us make sure punch lists are knocked out and customers are happy. And then, one thing we're doing is, as often as we can, we're asking for reviews. And it's, my son is like really interested in, toys. Obviously he's 9 years old and we're 8 days before Christmas. So,
Yeah.
So that's the territory. But I'm like, all right, let's hop online. And all right, he found these boxing gloves and little punching bag that he was interested in. And the first thing I thought of was like, well, let's check the reviews. And that's, he's getting indoctrinated with that same thing. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Let's see what other people have to say about it. Oh, this punching bag falls apart within 60 days. Like, we probably don't want that one, but this one has good reviews. That, people are doing the same thing with us. Even the boomers and older, they're learning how to use the tech and they're checking stuff out. So go on to the days of like, the full page ad in the yellow book and people saying, I saw your sign at Chuck's house. You still get, I think, sign referrals and things like that, but you're getting a much, maybe, what's the word to describe it? Much more research on the front end than I think used to be the case.
Yep. So even off of that sign call, that has the same psychological effect as those Google reviews a lot of times, right? It's like, oh, I know Bob and Judy. I know Bob did his research on those guys, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You're right.
So,
you're right.
But at the same time, with any mailings you're doing, any flyers you're doing, or, flyers, if your truck is, if they're seeing your truck around, if they're seeing you on the sign, if your canvassers are out, the second that they walk away from that door, the second that they're going to Google to search for you, who is asking for those reviews in your review process?
It's generally either our estimator or our project manager.
Okay. Are you waiting until kind of that final inspection to ask? Do you ask one time? Do you start the conversation maybe earlier on in the sales process saying, hey, how do you guys manage that process? Because you have hundreds of, over 100 great reviews. So
yeah, really just begging and groveling. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think it's just if you're an estimator, I'm sorry, if you're in the sales role, just to keep it simple, you're striking a good chord with a customer, and you just say, "Hey, this is really what helps me have more opportunities with your neighbors and people in the community. Would you mind posting something just saying that Fedale was easy to work with and they were professional and that would really help me out." Yeah, so that's something from that end. And then the project manager is a little bit more natural because that's either after the project completes or maybe a few weeks after the project completes, and that's just, hey, were you satisfied with the work? And one thing I'll encourage the listeners with is you don't just have to ask the happy customers. Like, you can ask customers that maybe went through it, because that'll add credibility to your reviews, to have people on there that are saying, John, he stepped through my drywall ceiling in my garage because my roof was so rotted out, but he owned up to it and came out and fixed that ceiling or whatever. So those bad stories can turn into good stories too,
if you do the right thing.
Yeah.
So what's the, through your experience, what's the greatest insight that you could share with our audience that's helped G Fedale find success in roofing?
Mm-hmm. So I've been focused more on leadership. Recently, my position with G Fedale is I'm more of the visionary leader, and then I share responsibility with my other brother Alan, who really runs the operations of production. But I would say two things from a leadership standpoint that I'll encourage people out there with is, number one, be humble. And again, I'm not speaking from a pedestal. Just, these are some of the lessons you learn the hard way. But give your guys the benefit of the doubt. Treat others as if, they're more important than you are. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. Humility is big. And then the second thing is delegation. It is hard for a lot of us that are do-it-yourselfers, right? That's what construction is. We get it done. And I would just encourage you to delegate. And even if they don't do it as well as you can, there's no other way that you can grow but to get good people around you to help you. And I feel like I learned that from my brother. He's way better than me at a ton of stuff. But he let a lot of that stuff go to me and watched me fumble and make mistakes and everything else. And I think that's a testament to his ability to not just be charismatic, but his ability to lead well and be able to delegate. So yeah, no secret sauce, but I would say those are the first two things that come to mind for me off the cuff.
Yeah, that's great. Adam, appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. Lots of great insights. Even if, and this is something for everyone to think about, is is it is simplistic, right? There, some of the things you'd mentioned this a couple of times. Oh, it's just simple. It's just these are the simple things, but those simple things done right over and over and over again is what leads to a business like Fedale Roofing. So I appreciate you taking the time with us today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.